We were driving by the church the other day when my daughter piped up from the back seat and she said, "Mommy, when I grow up, I'm going to be a pastor like you." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful, Esme. Why do you want to be a pastor?" And without pausing to think for even a second, she knew the answer. She said, "So I can sit next to you in those big chairs in church." I love being a pastor and I love my daughter, and so there are few things she could tell me that would melt my heart more than her saying that she wanted to follow in my footsteps. Even if she is only 4 and she doesn't actually know what pastors do or how the job of the pastor is only one of many important jobs that God has for people in the church and in the world. Today is Laity Sunday. Not to be confused with Ladies Sunday, which isn't actually a thing. However, last year, the confirmation class thought that that's what I was saying on this day, a misunderstanding that was perhaps unhelped by the fact that I was also handing out long-stemmed flowers to everyone who came to worship to honor them as the laity, not the ladies, the laity. According to the dictionary, the word laity means ordinary people, ordinary men and women, as distinct from professionals or experts. So today is a day when we lift up ordinary people, ordinary Christians whom God has called to extraordinary work. Because if you are a layperson, and unless we have any secretly ordained people in the congregation that I'm unaware of other than John Mims, I know that you are a layperson. You are called to ministry. God has a job for you to do. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus is sitting on the side of a mountain, and great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the blind, the maimed, the mute, and many others. No, we don't use those terms anymore today. But the point is that in the reign of God, every person, from the youngest to the oldest, from the strongest to the weakest, has a role to play in the healing of the world. Let's zoom out of this close-up story for just a moment and look at it from a bird's eye view. We've got Jesus sitting on the mountainside and a town below. The town is bustling with its usual activity, children going to school, adults going to work, people walking, some talking, some buying things, some loitering, some rushing. And amid this scene are the subjects of our story that the scriptures call the lame, the blind, the maimed, the mute, and many others, many others. Now let me ask you a question. Would those people who were in need of Jesus' healing touch have been able to find Jesus on that mountainside if their friends had not brought them to Jesus? Probably not, especially not for those who were unable to see, or those who were unable to walk, or even just those who were unable to climb mountains. And let me ask you another question. Would Jesus have healed as many people if he had had to go and find them all himself? Would he have healed as many if the lay people had not brought their friends and neighbors to his feet? No, he wouldn't have. In order for healing to happen, the lay people, the ordinary people, the great crowds, had a vital role to play. They brought people to Jesus. If we zoom in on the story, we find this scene. I imagine multiple men sharing the load of carrying a person lying on a stretcher, a patient woman hooking arms with and offering verbal instructions to someone who cannot see, the children running ahead to locate Jesus and shouting back, "We found him! We found him!" That day, the ministry, the work of God wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for the laity. In fact, what the laity did that day was part of the ministry. It was the work of God. If you're a layperson, you are called by God to ministry. God has a job for you to do. Over the course of my life, some of the most instrumental ministry that I have personally received has not come from suited and collared and highly educated clergy. Instead, the most instrumental ministry that I have received, most of it at least, has come from lay people. My mom, my dad, my grandparents, my Sunday school teachers, my friends, you guys. I have recently begun after COVID, hosting the occasional church gathering in my home. And as I've been doing that, I've been reflecting a lot on how when I was growing up, our home was often filled on weekday evenings with church people gathering for church meetings and church Bible studies in our living room. For years, my dad led a men's accountability group on Tuesday nights. And on Wednesday nights, my parents were a part of what was called a home group, where church members would meet in our home to fellowship and pray together and discuss the pastor's sermon and study the Bible. I remember in those formative years in my life, those ordinary church people who filled our home on those church meeting evenings. And I remember the extraordinary kindness and care and attention and encouragement and grace that they showed me. They never preached me a sermon. They just loved me. Which is to say, in other words, that they brought me to Jesus. And because of these ordinary Christians who were in my life, in my home, at pivotal and formative moments, I had the privilege of being brought to a relationship with Jesus marked by grace and love. If you're a layperson, you're called to ministry. God has a job for you to do. Thanks be to God. Amen. At this time, I am pleased to welcome Joan Farrar to come and give a testimony. Joan is our district lay leader, as well as our associate conference lay leader. She is chairperson of the New England Annual Conference Disabilities Committee, and also serves on the Conference Board of Laity, the District Committee for Lay Servant Ministries, the District Committee on Superintendency, and the District Committee on Leadership. Also, Joan is our neighbor. She is married to Reverend Ernie, who serves at the United Parish of Lunenburg, and they live in Lunenburg, which means that she, I'm assuming here, like I am, is mourning the fact that Cherry Hill Ice Cream is closing this weekend. Welcome, Joan.
All right, I'm getting here. I'm slow. I don't know whether I can stand the whole time. I don't know if I need my glasses or not. It's kind of strange to be in a church that's not in a screen, because I've been at home. I have not been into church, but maybe once or twice in a couple of years. So it's kind of cool to be here and be with you all to do my due diligence, I guess. As Michelle said, I am Joan Farrar, and bear with me because I'm not sure if I need my glasses. I have very bad vision, so I have help. All right, I don't need my glasses because that's pretty big. Good morning. As Michelle said, I am quite busy. She added a couple more things that I forgot. And I often wonder if I bit off more than I can chew. Sometimes it's really hard. But first and foremost, I am your district lay leader, as well as the conference. And as in, what are you doing to me? Okay. Besides all the district and conference stuff I do, I'm also a co-chair of the Maine, Rhode Island Cystic Fibrosis Foundation Grampians Project. We have a granddaughter, our Lucy, who's 5, who has cystic fibrosis, so we both are part of that program, trying to get it going. Grampians is a program for anybody who is a helper to somebody with cystic fibrosis, whether you're a parent, or aunt, uncle, a friend who's a big help. That's what Grampians is. We're trying to give support to the people who help those with cystic fibrosis. If you have known me in my younger years, you would have probably think, what happened to change Joan? Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My dad was in the Air Force, and while he and my mom lived in Del Rio, Texas, I was born. Growing up, I lived in New York, England, Massachusetts, Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio. I am the oldest of 4. I spent my middle and high school years in Central Ohio. And in those years, my parents divorced, both got remarried, and we lived in 4 different homes in 2 different school districts. And they were I spent part of my middle school in one school system, the rest and part of my high school in another system, and then we moved back to the system we were in before. So, yeah, so I graduated in the system I started in. In those and following years, I was extremely shy. I was so shy that in high school, I would break out in hives if I had to give a report in front of class. I was a good student, but I absolutely hated to give a stand-up report. I was terrified. After high school, I went into the Air Force and ended up in Spain, where I met my husband. He told me that his plan was to become a minister. Growing up, my family did not go to church much. Occasionally, we would go to Christmas or Easter, and I remember going to VBS a time or 2. My mother grew up a Catholic mother and a Lutheran father, and she had so much church when she lived at home that she was not interested in having us do the same. We were all baptized, so I know church happened occasionally. I was baptized Catholic, my sister Methodist, my brother Lutheran, and my other brother Catholic. So, yeah. It depended on which pastor, chaplain was at the chapel that she went to, if she went there. My father was somewhere between an agnostic and an atheist. So until I met Ernie, I did not know much about religion at all. I started attending church with him at the base chapel when my work schedule allowed, as I worked in a hospital. I had no idea where I was headed, but was being led to where I am now. After Spain, we moved to Montana, where our oldest son was born. I was able to attend church more regularly now that I didn't have to work weekends at the hospital. I was getting more comfortable with religion. When we both separated from the Air Force, we moved back to his hometown in Rumford, Maine. The first time we went to his home church, the pastor's wife was dressed to the nines, including a hat and veil, and gloves. I asked Ernie if I had to dress like that when he became a minister. Thankfully, he said no, because there was no way I was going to wear a hat or gloves. I don't even wear them in the wintertime. While there, he finished his undergraduate, and our middle son was born. Then we started our journey to his becoming a United Methodist minister. We moved to Fairborn, Ohio, where he had a small part-time pastorate while he attended United Theological Seminary in Dayton. That's a mouthful there. We were there 4 years, and our youngest son was born. While there, I was experiencing my first years as a pastor's wife. I had no idea how I was supposed to act. While there, I was nurtured by many lay people in this tiny church. I was able to be myself. They did not expect me to be a secretary, a pianist, or a Sunday school teacher. I started attending Bible studies. The people in the church were so supportive of us as a family. I am very thankful for that early start in my ministry as a pastor's wife. After seminary, we moved back to Maine while it was still its own conference. We lived in South Paris in a 3-point charge, then moved to Searsport, which was a 2-point charge, New Harbor, which was a 2-point charge. And we left Maine and moved to Middleborough, Massachusetts, another 2-point charge. Back to Maine, we went to Presque Isle, and then Wayne, and now here we are in Lunenburg. Over all these years, I started to be less shy, and it was more and more comfortable stepping into leadership roles. I taught Sunday school a time or two. I started to lead some Bible studies, became involved with the UMW, went to some retreats as clergy spouses, and helped to lead a few. Years ago, I took what used to be called the lay speaker course. Little did I know that this was leading me to. I had no interest in speaking in the pulpit. That is my husband's job. This is not where I want to be. Once all of our boys were on their own, and I started to have more interest in leadership roles. After I took the lay speakers course in our first out-of-seminary parish, I did not do much with it and really had no opportunity with 3 active boys in school, sports, and scouts. My roles in leadership were in the community rather than the church. When we moved to Maine, I took my first lay servant class and realized that I could be a leader both in and out of my church. You see, as a pastor's spouse, I feel that there's only a few committees on a church that I can serve, and there are several that I cannot at all. My focus went outward. Little did I know that I would lead me to where I am today, and with multiple positions of leadership at one time. Boy, am I thankful that they are not full-time and never usually meet at the same time. Lay servant ministry is a great program that I feel everyone should try. Whether you are young or advanced in years, there is some place where you can be a servant. Inside all of our churches are many ways to become a servant. Outside, there are as many as well. The lay servant courses equip you to be able to find your passion or where you want to do. We are all not meant to be preachers or teachers. We can find our own place to be a servant in everything. Our work, our community, even our fun. Being a lay servant can open doors to many on your way. After taking 2 advanced courses, you become a certified lay servant. Taking even more specific courses, you can become a certified lay speaker. And even more study can lead you to become a certified lay minister. Most people are content to just stay a certified lay servant. And to do that, all you need to do is take one advanced course every 2 years. Many take more. I love taking the courses. They are adding more and more different offerings, and now in our Zoom world, you don't even have to leave home to attend a course. And the courses are usually, it depends on the leader, but some will do them 2 Saturdays in a row for all day long. Others would spread them over 2 hours for 5-6 weeks, however long the course is. So they're very different. And you can even take a class in Katahdin, Maine, and not even leave your home. This year's Lady Sunday theme is Rise, on recognizing and responding together beyond church walls to God's gathering nearness and grace in the world. Whoops.
It's okay.
I'm not gonna try and get it because I'm not gonna be able to stand up much longer. When I was a shy young lady just out of high school, I would never have thought I would become where I am today, speaking in front of people I mostly do not know. With the help of many God servants along my path, I have become more confident in myself as a servant leader. Maybe you can start trying something in your church. Then maybe district, committee, even a conference spot. Try it for yourself and see what path may lead you in becoming a servant. And if you have any questions, I'll be here for a few minutes probably afterwards. So about lay servant ministries, it's awesome.